The sun of Elara Prime rose slowly, painting the alien sky in soft shades of gold and violet. But inside the great council chamber, the air was heavy with tension. For days, the alien leaders had debated endlessly about the humans, whether to trust them, to challenge them further, or to remove them entirely from their world. The humans had proven calm under pressure. They had faced every test without anger or aggression. Their precision, unity, and mysterious control over energy had unsettled even the most confident members of the council. Ambassador Krill stood near the center of the chamber, his transparent skin glowing faintly as his internal veins pulsed with nervous light. "They are not what we expected," he said quietly. "Their strength does not come from technology alone. It comes from something deeper, something we do not understand." An older alien, Counselor Vara, leaned forward. "You speak as though you fear them, Krill." Krill's gaze darkened slightly. "Not fear, awareness. They came in peace, but peace does not mean weakness. Their patience hides something powerful. Did you not see the way their leader looked at us? Those eyes." He paused, remembering the faint glow that had appeared in Captain Elias Carter's eyes during the demonstration. It had been brief, almost like a reflection of light, but every sensor had recorded strange energy readings during that moment. The council could not explain it. "They are different," Vara said slowly, "perhaps too different." As the council continued to argue, far above them the human ship floated in silence. Captain Carter stood on the bridge watching the planet spin below. He could feel the weight of what was coming. Humans had shown patience and calm, but he knew the council would not stop testing them. Lieutenant Mira Chen approached, holding a new transmission. "Captain, the council has invited us back. They want to continue the discussion." Carter smiled faintly. "Discussion," he said. "Yes, that's what they call it. Very well. Let's not keep them waiting." The human delegation landed once more on the planet's surface. As they stepped into the council chamber, the atmosphere was different this time. Heavier, colder. The aliens no longer looked at them with open curiosity. Their eyes were full of caution and quiet respect. Ambassador Krill greeted them. "Captain Carter," he said in a calm but tense tone, "the council wishes to understand you better. You have shown skill and patience, but we sense something else within you, something powerful. We need to know what it is." Carter met his gaze without hesitation. "We have no hidden weapons," he said gently. "What you sense is not technology. It is human focus, human determination. When we are calm, we are strong. When we are challenged, we adapt." "That is who we are," the council murmured among themselves. Some were not convinced. One of the younger members spoke up. "You say your strength is patience and focus. But we have studied your kind. Your history is full of conflict and struggle. How can we trust such a species?" Carter nodded slowly. "Yes, we have known struggle. But that struggle taught us endurance. We learned to rise again every time. We learned to change, to grow, to move forward instead of giving up. Our past is not our weakness, it is our lesson." As he spoke, the faint light in his eyes returned, soft and blue this time, glowing like distant starlight. The chamber fell silent. The aliens watched closely, uncertain if it was a trick of the light or something deeper. "What is that?" whispered one counselor. Carter did not answer immediately. He looked around the vast chamber and said, "It is focus. Humans are born fragile, yes. But when we stand together, when our purpose becomes clear, something inside us awakens. You may call it strength or will or light, but whatever it is, it cannot be broken." His eyes brightened slightly and the room filled with a gentle hum. The energy around the humans shimmered faintly and nearby lights flickered. Machines built by the most advanced minds in the galaxy began reacting to something invisible, something that came not from any device, but from the humans themselves. The aliens gasped. Krill stepped forward slowly, his own hands trembling. You are affecting the energy field of this chamber," he said quietly. "How?" Carter's expression was calm. "Humans do not seek to control. Sometimes energy responds to emotion, to thought. Our minds, our hearts, they connect when our purpose is pure. You wanted to see what we are, Ambassador? This is us." The faint hum grew stronger, resonating through the walls. The light that shone from the human's eyes was soft, never blinding but filled with warmth and strength. For the first time, the aliens felt something they could not measure with their instruments: human will. It was not aggression. It was not power meant to harm. It was presence. The quiet, unstoppable determination of a species that refused to give up. Counselor Vara whispered to Krill, "Do you feel it? It is as if they are part of the world itself." Krill nodded slowly. "I feel it. And it is peaceful, but also unshakable." The lights dimmed, then steadied. The glow faded from Carter's eyes, leaving only calm silence. He took a breath. "This is why we came," he said softly. "To show that peace is not weakness. That strength does not always shout. Sometimes it simply stands unbroken." For a long moment no one spoke. Then slowly several counselors stood in quiet respect. They had seen enough to understand that humans were not to be treated as fragile visitors, but not all were convinced. A few skeptics still whispered among themselves. "It could be illusion," one said. "Or advanced human technology." Krill turned to them. "If it is, then it is unlike any we know." The energy did not come from machines. It came from them, and it responded to emotion, not command. Outside the chamber, the alien capital began to react. Sensors across the city had recorded the strange energy wave. Civilians watched the skies where faint light patterns danced above the atmosphere, reflecting the human presence below. Back on the human ship, the crew monitored the readings. Lieutenant Chen looked amazed. "Captain, we're detecting synchronized energy resonance across their network. It's as if the planet itself is responding." Carter smiled slightly. "It's not the planet," he said quietly. "It's the people. They're beginning to understand." Later that evening, the council called for a recess. The humans were escorted to a guest chamber overlooking the alien city. Towers of crystal and metal stretched below, glowing softly against the twilight sky. Mira turned to her captain. "You showed them something they'll never forget," she said. Carter nodded slowly. "I only showed them what humanity truly is, what we've always been. The galaxy sees us as small, fragile, and emotional, but our strength has never been in our size or power. It has always been in our will." He looked out the window, his eyes faintly glowing again as the reflection of the alien lights danced across his face. When humans focus, when we believe in something together, even the stars seem to listen. That night, whispers spread across Alara Prime. The council's guards, engineers, and citizens spoke in hushed voices about what they had seen. Humans standing calmly while light itself seemed to bend around them. Some called it magic. Others called it harmony. Ambassador Krill stayed awake long into the night thinking. Humanity had arrived speaking of peace, and he had doubted them. But now he saw that their peace came not from weakness, but from strength. The kind of strength that grows through hardship and patience. When he finally looked out at the sky, he saw the faint shimmer of the human ship orbiting above. A small vessel compared to their mighty fleets. Yet it radiated quiet confidence, he whispered to himself. They spoke of peace, and I believe them now, but I also see that if pushed too far, their light will not fade. It will rise. Far above the planet, Carter stood on the deck of his ship once more, the stars reflected in his eyes. "Tomorrow," he said softly to his crew, "the real choice will be made. The council will decide what peace means to them, and whatever they choose, we'll be ready." The glow in his eyes dimmed to a soft ember like the calm before dawn. The galaxy was changing slowly, silently, and the humans had become the light that no one could ignore. The council chamber of Alara Prime was silent as the human delegation entered once more. The vast circular room which had witnessed so many debates now seemed smaller, almost fragile compared to the presence of the humans. Captain Elias Carter walked with calm certainty, his eyes glimmering faintly in the dim light. He did not speak at first. He simply observed. Ambassador Krill rose to greet them. His glow, which usually signaled confidence, now flickered nervously. "Captain Carter," he said, "your people have shown patience, endurance, and remarkable control. Yet the council must decide. Can your species be trusted, or is your strength too unpredictable?" Carter's gaze swept across the room, meeting the eyes of every council member. "We seek peace," he said firmly, "but we understand if you wish to test our resolve. Humanity thrives not by fear, but by persistence. We endure, adapt, and rise, always." The chamber held its breath. Even those who had doubted the humans could not ignore the quiet intensity in Carter's words, nor the subtle glow that now seemed to radiate from his eyes, steady and unwavering. One of the counselors, younger and brash, stepped forward. We have seen your skills, Captain, but words and demonstrations alone do not convince us fully. We need certainty. Show us that your intentions are true. Show us that you can survive any threat we present. Carter's lips curved into a calm smile. Survival is not merely about defense. It is about focus, unity, and clarity. What you ask is already within us, waiting to be seen. He gestured to Lieutenant Mira Chen. At her signal, a series of energy spheres emerged from a device on the deck. This time, they moved with intelligence that went beyond simple patterns. They split, merged, and responded to the emotions in the room. The council watched in astonishment. The spheres swirled around the chamber like living beings, mapping and reacting to the counselor's own expressions: curiosity, doubt, even fear. Carter stepped closer. These are not weapons. They are a reflection of our minds. Humans do not need to harm to demonstrate our power. Focus and unity are enough to show what we can endure, what we can accomplish. The faint glow in his eyes grew, blue and steady, radiating a soft warmth that filled the chamber. The aliens felt it immediately. Energy readings spiked across the room. Machines and devices began to react, flickering softly as if sensing something they could not measure. The humans had not touched a single system, yet their presence was enough to create ripples of energy that moved through the space. Ambassador Krill took a hesitant step forward. You are influencing the chamber itself. This is not mechanical, it is natural yet controlled. How can this be? Carter's voice was calm, almost gentle. It is human focus, Ambassador. When we stand together, our minds, hearts, and will connect. It does not harm. It does not destroy. It endures, and it grows. A hush fell over the room. Even the most skeptical counselors could not deny the truth in his words. The humans had demonstrated not force, but the strength of presence, patience, and unity. They had shown that calm determination could be more powerful than any fleet, any weapon, any strategy. A ripple of whispers passed through the council. They are unlike anything we expected. Peace, another said softly, almost reverently, and yet they command presence without aggression. The human eyes glowed brighter, not with anger, but with focus and intent. Carter's subtle energy moved through the chamber like a gentle tide, touching each counselor in a way that was impossible to ignore. Some felt fear, others curiosity, but all felt awe. Krill raised his voice. Council, we have underestimated humans. They are not fragile. They are not reckless. They endure. They adapt. Their strength comes from within and from their unity. Can we risk denying them peace when their presence brings such clarity? Some counselors nodded. Others remained silent, wrestling with their pride and long-held assumptions. The humans had entered as strangers, unknown and underestimated, yet now they had become a force of quiet certainty. Carter stepped forward. His voice, calm but carrying weight, filled the chamber. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek war. We seek understanding, cooperation, and peace. But know this, humans do not break easily. If threatened, we adapt, endure, and rise. That is our nature, but we hope it will never come to that. The chamber seemed to shimmer in response to the glow from Carter's eyes. Aliens whispered to one another, realizing that humans' power was not just physical or technological. It was intrinsic, something that could not be contained or predicted. Then, without a word, Carter lowered his gaze and allowed the glow to fade slowly. The room returned to normal light, but the impression of their presence lingered like an echo. No alien present would ever forget it. Ambassador Krill took a deep breath. Council, he said, it is clear. The human's strength is not in violence, but in resilience, focus, and unity. They have shown us that they endure beyond expectation. Their eyes, their presence, their calm. It is a power we cannot ignore. Counselor Vara stood slowly. Perhaps it is time, she said, to accept that peace with humans is not weakness, but wisdom. They have proven that they can survive any test, and that their power comes from something we cannot destroy. The human spirit. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. The younger, skeptical counselors still looked uneasy, but even they could not deny the evidence before them. Humans were not fragile. Humans were not simple. They were a species that endured, adapted, and inspired awe, all without raising a hand in violence. Krill nodded, his glow steady now. Then the decision is clear. Humans will be welcomed not as threats but as equals. And perhaps, as allies. Carter's lips curved into a faint smile. "We came seeking peace," he said softly. "And it seems we have found it." Outside the chamber, the city of GalacticPrime buzzed softly under the alien skies. Citizens had gathered at observation decks, curious about the humans and the Council's decision. Many had witnessed the faint shimmer of energy during the demonstrations, and whispers of awe spread quickly. Humans were no longer just visitors. They had become a symbol of endurance, patience, and the quiet strength that comes from unity. Back on the human ship, the crew prepared to depart. Carter stood on the observation deck watching the planet below. "They will remember us," he said quietly. "Not because we conquered, but because we endured. Humanity has a way of leaving an impression, and sometimes that is enough to change a galaxy." Lieutenant Chen smiled. "Do you think they truly understand us now?" Carter shook his head slightly. "They understand some of what they saw. But humans are always more than anyone expects. They will learn over time. That is the way of it. Patience reveals truth, and we have plenty of it." As the ship rose into orbit, the lights of the alien city reflected on its hull. Carter's eyes glimmered faintly one last time, a soft reminder that humans' patience and focus were unyielding. The glow did not signal aggression, it signaled purpose, determination, and the quiet strength of a species that refused to be underestimated. Above the planet, the stars stretched endlessly, vast and infinite. The humans had arrived seeking peace, and they had achieved it. Not through weapons, not through power, but through endurance, unity, and presence. They had proven to the galaxy that calm determination could be more powerful than fear, more lasting than fleets, and more remarkable than anyone had imagined. And as the ship drifted among the stars, Captain Carter knew that this was only the beginning. Humans had shown that patience could shine brighter than any weapon, that focus could move even the most skeptical minds, and that the quiet strength of their spirit would leave a lasting mark across the universe. The galaxy had seen humanity, not as fragile, not as reckless, but as enduring, adaptable, and unstoppable. And from that moment, no species would ever doubt the light in a human's eyes again. The cold metal of the spaceship gleamed under the dim lights of the docking bay. Liam's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to understand what had just happened. One moment, he had been exploring the outskirts of the abandoned research station on Earth, and the next, he was being lifted off the ground by a force he couldn't see, pulled through the air as if by invisible hands. When he opened his eyes again, he was inside a strange, cylindrical room. The walls glowed with soft green light, and strange symbols moved across the panels, shifting and changing as if they were alive. Liam's legs trembled. He had never seen anything like this, not in his life. The air smelled faintly metallic, and the temperature was cooler than Earth, but not uncomfortably so. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. His voice sounded small and fragile in the vast room. A low hum filled the air like the heartbeat of a living machine. Before he could get his bearings, a group of aliens entered. They were unlike anything he had ever imagined. Their skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the green lights. 4 arms, long fingers tipped with delicate pads, and eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. They moved smoothly, without sound, like dancers in slow motion. Liam froze. He had always believed humans were not alone in the universe, but nothing in his life had prepared him for this moment. One of the aliens stepped forward, tilting its head as if inspecting him. "Human specimen," it said in a tone that was deep and vibrating. Liam did not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. He was being evaluated, like a curious object rather than a person. Fear clawed at his chest, but he forced himself to breathe slowly. Panic would not help him now. His mind raced. Could he escape? Could he fight them? He had no weapons, no technology that could compare to whatever they had brought him into. Survival meant something else entirely. The aliens moved him gently but firmly into a smaller chamber connected to the main hall. Here the walls were smooth and seamless, and a soft light illuminated the space. A platform in the center of the room rose from the floor, shaped like a chair but made of a strange, translucent material. Before Liam could react, the platform lifted him into the air and gently held him in place. He tried to move, but the platform held him securely, not with pain, but with precision. He felt small, tiny, a creature far below the intelligence of these beings. Then the most astonishing thing happened. One of the aliens placed a device near his head, a smooth silver object with small glowing nodes. Liam's instincts screamed danger, but the alien did not seem threatening. Instead, it was almost clinical. The device hummed softly, and Liam felt a strange pressure in his mind, as if tiny streams of information were flowing into his consciousness. Images, symbols, and patterns flashed before his eyes, and then something clicked. He understood a word, then a sentence, then a language. Liam blinked, confused. The alien spoke, and suddenly he understood. Words that had sounded like vibration now made sense. The sentences formed meaning, and he realized with a jolt that he could respond. "Where am I?" he asked, and this time the alien seemed satisfied. Its forearms moved in a delicate pattern, as if marking a thought in the air. The others gathered around, speaking quickly in their own language. Liam listened, understanding almost every word. He realized that the aliens were surprised. They had never seen a human learn so quickly. He was their pet, their experiment, but he was learning faster than they expected. Days passed. Liam observed the aliens, memorizing their routines, their hierarchy, and even the ways they used their strange technology. He learned the symbols, the names, and the meaning of their experiments. They gave him small amounts of food, which he ate politely, not wanting to upset them. He had learned early that respect could be more useful than defiance. At night, when the aliens rested, Liam lay awake on the smooth floor of his chamber. He thought about Earth, about the people he had left behind, about the sky above him. But he also thought about survival, about the strange gift he now possessed. He could speak their language, understand their thoughts, and most importantly, learn their weaknesses. One evening, he overheard a conversation that made his heart skip a beat. The aliens were discussing their next mission, and they mentioned taking more humans. Liam realized he was not the only one. They planned to capture more, study more, and perhaps in the future, dominate the species they called humans. That thought ignited a spark inside him. He was small, yes, but humans had something no alien could match: adaptability, curiosity, and cunning. And now, he had a gift no human had ever had before: the ability to understand the aliens fully, almost as if he were one of them. He began to plan. Small things at first: questions to gain knowledge, small movements to test the strength of the doors, observations of the guards' routines. Every detail mattered. The more he learned, the more confident he became. The aliens thought of him as a pet, but Liam's mind was racing with strategies. He knew he needed patience, but he also knew that his moment would come. The first breakthrough happened when he noticed a pattern in their communication. Each time they spoke in the council room, the glowing symbols on the walls pulsed in rhythm with their words. Liam realized he could predict what they were going to say, and perhaps in time anticipate their actions. That night, he whispered to himself in the alien language, testing his memory and pronunciation. "I will not be a pet forever. I will return home. I will survive." For the first time since the capture, he felt a flicker of hope, not just hope but determination. The aliens were powerful, yes, but they had underestimated him. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and Liam intended to show them that human resilience was not something that could be caged, contained, or silenced. As the stars passed outside the observation windows of the alien ship, Liam closed his eyes. He imagined Earth, imagined freedom, imagined the day he would walk among humans again, and deep inside he felt a quiet power, the power of learning, the power of understanding, and the power of a human mind capable of adapting to anything. The aliens had captured a human pet, but they did not yet realize that this human was no ordinary creature. He was clever, observant, and patient. And patience, Liam knew, could be more dangerous than any weapon. The night passed, and the soft hum of the ship filled the chamber. Liam's mind was alive, thinking, calculating, planning. Every alien movement, every sound, every pattern became a piece of a puzzle that he intended to solve. By the time the light shifted and the aliens returned to check on him, Liam sat calmly as if nothing had changed. But inside, a quiet revolution was taking place. The human mind, underestimated for so long, had found its footing in a world of aliens, and soon Liam would show them that intelligence, patience, and courage were the greatest strengths of all. The journey of survival had begun, and the first chapter of his remarkable story was only just unfolding. The next morning, the alien ship was alive with activity. Liam woke to a faint hum resonating through the walls of his chamber. The soft green glow bathed the room, and he could see the shadowy figures of the aliens moving in perfect synchronization. He had observed them long enough now to understand that their movements were never random. They were purposeful, disciplined, and precise. Liam stretched, careful not to disturb the small platform that had become his temporary seat. He had begun calling it his chair, though he knew it was not a gift, it was a tool, much like the aliens' technology itself. His mind was already working on understanding the patterns of the ship. He studied the walls, the soft lights, and even the symbols that flashed across the panels. Each detail mattered. When the first alien entered his chamber that morning, Liam greeted it in their language. "Good morning. What are your orders today?" he asked, careful to sound polite. The alien froze, its forearms pausing mid-motion. Its glowing eyes widened slightly, though the expression was subtle, almost imperceptible to a human observer. The being blinked twice and replied, "You understand?" "Yes," Liam said calmly. "I am learning. You speak and I listen. I observe and I understand." The alien nodded slowly, a gesture that seemed both cautious and intrigued. Liam could see the curiosity in the movements of its limbs. They were evaluating him, testing him, but he had already begun to understand their methods. Observation was key. Adaptation was survival. The alien led him to the main observation hall. The room was enormous, filled with glowing panels, screens displaying stars, planets, and what Liam assumed were star maps. Other aliens were gathered, speaking rapidly in their vibrating language. Liam listened silently, deciphering each sentence. They were discussing Earth. The words human species came up frequently, and he could sense their uncertainty. The aliens had underestimated humans for centuries. They considered humans primitive, weak, and incapable of true strategy. Liam felt a quiet satisfaction. They were wrong. He asked a question in their language, careful to sound curious rather than threatening. "Why are you observing humans?" "What do you hope to learn?" A tall alien with elongated limbs turned to him. "Observation is for knowledge. Knowledge ensures control. You are an anomaly." Liam smiled faintly. He had learned that patience was his greatest weapon. "Anomaly," he repeated softly, testing the word. "I understand. But even anomalies have value, yes?" The alien hesitated, then moved on. Liam noticed that the other aliens began glancing at him more often, whispering in quick patterns. Their fascination was clear. A human had never spoken their language so fluently. It was astonishing, almost alarming to them. Back in his chamber later that day, Liam reflected on what he had learned. The ship was massive, with multiple levels, laboratories, and observation decks. He had memorized the layout almost entirely by walking its corridors under supervision. Every corner, every panel, every door became part of his mental map. He also realized that the aliens had weaknesses. Their reliance on technology meant they were cautious but predictable. They moved in patterns, repeated routines, and rarely acted impulsively. This predictability could be exploited if he timed his actions carefully. Liam began experimenting in small ways. He asked to handle objects on his platform, touching the control panels gently. The aliens allowed it, fascinated by his understanding. He learned how to make minor adjustments to the energy flow, how to trigger displays, and even how to communicate silently with some of the symbols. One evening, as the ship passed near an asteroid field, Liam noticed something remarkable. A small alien vessel was docked in a nearby bay, designed for quick travel. It could fit a single human-sized occupant. He touched the hull gently, imagining the possibilities. Escape was still far off, but he was beginning to see a path. He also began observing the other captured humans who were kept in separate chambers. Most were scared, trembling at the sight of the aliens. Liam realized that fear was their greatest barrier. He thought about how to teach them, how to share knowledge, how to create a small network of understanding among humans. But he had to be cautious. The aliens were watching closely, and any sign of rebellion could be disastrous. Instead, he focused on learning. Each day brought new words, new symbols, new patterns. He discovered the energy source that powered the ship, how the shields worked, and the basic commands for the docking mechanisms. Every discovery made him more confident, more capable, more dangerous, though the aliens did not yet understand that. Then came the first test. One of the aliens approached him with a small puzzle device, an intricate set of shapes and energy conduits. "Solve," it commanded. Liam picked up the device, examining it carefully. At first it seemed impossible. But then he remembered something fundamental. Humans are problem solvers, designed to adapt. He traced the paths with his fingers, listened to the subtle vibrations, and watched the lights respond to his touch. Slowly, methodically, he aligned the shapes, connecting the conduits. The device clicked and a small panel on it opened, revealing a tiny glowing crystal. The aliens observed him in silence, their eyes wide with surprise. "You understand faster than anticipated," one said. "Yes," Liam replied calmly. "Observation, reasoning, learning. It is what humans do best." That night, Liam lay on his platform, staring at the green glow above. He knew he was gaining power, not through weapons but through knowledge. The aliens had captured him thinking he was helpless. They thought of him as a pet. But pets could be clever. Pets could observe. Pets could learn. And Liam was learning faster than any alien could imagine. He began thinking in longer terms. Escape was still distant, but what about communication? Could he send a message to Earth? Could he teach other humans the aliens' weaknesses? Each thought was carefully measured. He had to remain calm, patient, cautious. The aliens were intelligent, but humans had an advantage that no alien fully understood: ingenuity. Days turned into a week. The aliens continued their routines, bringing food, conducting experiments, and observing Liam closely. But now Liam had begun subtle interactions that seemed ordinary to the aliens but were far from it. He would touch panels in certain sequences, observe shifts in the energy grid, and quietly memorize every detail. One afternoon, a small incident occurred. A minor power fluctuation caused a panel to spark. Liam reacted instantly, pressing a sequence of controls he had observed earlier. The spark ceased, and the alien stared at him. "You saved the system," one said. "Yes," Liam replied. "I watched. I learned. I understand." From that moment, the alien's perception began to shift. He was no longer just a subject. They were beginning to see him as a participant, a partner in the strange, precise dance of knowledge. But Liam knew better. Knowledge was power, and he was gaining it by the hour. He also began to understand their social dynamics. The four-armed commander, Varkal, was cautious, commanding respect and fear. Others whispered to each other when he was not present. Some admired Liam's intelligence, some feared it. This created tiny cracks in the unity of the alien crew. Small, but enough. Liam smiled faintly to himself. Patience, observation, learning, they were his tools. And tools could become weapons when wielded wisely. At night, he practiced speaking their language aloud, repeating words and sentences until they felt natural. "I will survive," he whispered. "I will understand. I will find a way." By the end of the second week, Liam had fully integrated himself into the rhythms of the alien ship. He could anticipate movements, understand commands before they were spoken, and navigate the ship with the skill of a seasoned observer. The aliens were amazed, cautious, and slightly fearful. They had underestimated the human mind, and that would be their mistake. For Liam, every day was a step closer to survival, to understanding, to eventual freedom. He was still a captive, yes, but the cage was no longer as strong as it had seemed. Knowledge had become his power. Patience had become his weapon. And humans, he knew, always found a way. The stars outside the ship moved silently, and Liam looked out through the observation window. He imagined Earth, imagining freedom, imagining the day he would return. But he also imagined the aliens, imagining how he could turn their strength into opportunity. The story was only beginning, and Liam was ready. The alien ship drifted silently through the vast darkness of space, stars streaking past its reinforced windows. Inside, the hum of machinery and the quiet shuffle of alien limbs created a constant background rhythm. Liam had grown accustomed to it. He had spent weeks observing, learning, and adapting to life aboard the strange vessel, but today felt different. When the first alien approached his chamber that morning, Liam was ready. He greeted the being in perfect fluency, using words, tone, and gestures he had only recently mastered. "Good morning. How are the systems today?" he asked. The alien froze, its forearms pausing mid-motion. Its glowing eyes widened slightly, betraying an emotion Liam had not seen before: surprise. Then it moved closer, speaking in its own vibrating language. To the alien's astonishment, Liam responded immediately, forming complete sentences with perfect understanding. The alien stepped back, unsure how to respond. It had never encountered a human who could learn so quickly, who could adapt in such a short time. Liam's ability to understand and speak their language so fluently unsettled them. They had intended to study him as a pet, an experiment, but he was no ordinary human. Liam observed their reactions carefully. Curiosity, caution, a hint of fear. Perfect. He smiled faintly to himself. Knowledge was his power, and now language had become the key to influence. By mid-morning, he was led to the central observation hall once more. The room was filled with the soft glow of countless displays, charts, and symbols that pulsed in harmony with the aliens' conversations. Other aliens gathered, speaking quickly, exchanging information about the human species, their home planet, and potential plans for further study. Liam listened attentively, understanding every word. He realized that his sudden fluency had given him a new advantage. He could participate in discussions. Not as a subject, not as a pet, but as an observer with influence. "What is your opinion on human adaptation?" one alien asked him, its forearms gesturing delicately. Liam paused for a moment, careful with his response. He had learned to speak with precision. Humans are resilient. They learn quickly. They can adapt to almost any situation. Underestimating them is a mistake. The room went silent. The other aliens glanced at one another, whispering in rapid patterns. The words anomaly and unexpected repeated, as if the crew were struggling to comprehend the concept. Liam smiled inwardly. He had shifted the balance slightly, and the aliens were beginning to take notice. Later in his chamber, Liam began to experiment further. He touched control panels, adjusting minor settings, observing how the aliens responded. Every movement he made was calculated, subtle. The aliens allowed it because they were fascinated, believing he was merely learning. They did not yet understand that he was preparing himself for a future opportunity, perhaps even escape. He also began communicating quietly with the other humans aboard the ship. Most were frightened, unsure how to cope with the aliens, but Liam's presence brought hope. He explained in simple gestures and careful words what he had learned, patterns of movement, timing, and routines. "Observe," he told them. "Learn, be ready. Knowledge is survival." The humans listened, wide-eyed and eager. Some began to mimic his methods, quietly noting guard shifts and technological patterns. Liam felt a surge of pride. Humans, even under captivity, were capable of ingenuity. That knowledge gave him strength. As the days passed, Liam continued to impress the aliens with his language skills. He could now engage in complex conversations, ask questions about technology, and even suggest minor improvements. The aliens were initially cautious, but they were intrigued by his intellect. Slowly, their perception of him shifted from mere specimen to something more extraordinary. One afternoon, Liam was summoned to the laboratory. The aliens had prepared a series of puzzles and tasks, designed to test his reasoning and observation. But Liam approached each challenge calmly. He watched the mechanisms, listened to the subtle vibrations, and applied logic. Each time he succeeded. Each time the aliens were amazed. They whispered among themselves, a mixture of excitement and fear in their glowing eyes. "He is learning faster than anticipated," one said. "Perhaps faster than any other specimen we have studied." Liam understood the unspoken concern. The aliens were beginning to see him as more than a pet. He had become a participant in their world, a clever, observant, patient human who could learn, adapt, and influence. That realization was thrilling. At night, Liam lay on his platform, gazing at the ceiling's soft glow. He reflected on everything he had learned, the language, the patterns, the technology, the routines. He had begun memorizing every control panel, every energy conduit, every detail that could be used in the future. Patience had become his greatest weapon, knowledge his most powerful tool. Then one evening, a critical moment arrived. The alien commander, Varkle, summoned him to the central council room. Other senior aliens were present, their limbs moving in precise, deliberate patterns. The conversation was technical, discussing energy sources, shield systems, and long-range travel routes. Liam listened carefully, noting every detail. Then quietly he spoke. "The energy flow can be adjusted to optimize efficiency," he said, naming specific conduits and sequences. The aliens froze. His suggestion was correct, detailed, and precise. Varkle's eyes narrowed, a subtle glow intensifying. "You understand our technology at a level unexpected for your species," he said. Yes, Liam replied calmly. Observation and reasoning. That is human strength, the aliens murmured among themselves. Liam realized something remarkable. He had shifted the dynamic entirely. He was no longer just a subject. They were beginning to respect his intelligence, even if reluctantly. The concept of a human being capable of this had not been considered possible. Over the next few days, Liam continued to push the boundaries. He asked questions about navigation systems, minor adjustments in energy flow, and subtle patterns in alien communication. Each time the aliens responded with cautious respect. They could not understand fully how he learned so quickly, and that gave him power. He also began planning for the long term. Escape was still far off, but he now knew enough about the ship to make a plan. He memorized the routes, the timings, and the locations of all critical systems. Every panel, every hatch, every guard movement was logged in his mind. Humans were adaptable, patient, and intelligent, and he intended to use every skill he had learned. At night, he whispered to himself in the alien language, testing pronunciation and memory. I will survive. I will learn. I will find a way home. The words gave him strength, a quiet determination that no alien could suppress. Then came an unexpected moment of insight. Liam noticed that the aliens' reliance on technology made them predictable. They trusted their systems implicitly, rarely acting outside the routines. That meant their actions could be anticipated. That meant small interventions, carefully timed, could create opportunities. He began subtle experiments. Minor adjustments in energy flow, small manipulations of panels, observing how the aliens reacted. Nothing dangerous yet, only observations. But each action brought new insight. Each observation revealed patterns, weaknesses, and possibilities. The other humans noticed the change. They saw Liam speaking the language, interacting confidently with the aliens, understanding every word. Slowly, hope began to grow among the captives. Observation, patience, learning. They could survive. They could endure. One evening, Liam overheard the aliens discussing potential missions beyond the ship. Expansion, one said. We may capture more humans. They are a resource, a variable to study. Liam's mind raced. Capture, observation, study. These were alien words for control. But he also realized something important. Knowledge could level the playing field. Humans had always survived against greater threats. And now, armed with understanding, he had the ability to influence, perhaps even save others. As the ship glided past distant stars, Liam felt a quiet determination. He was no longer just a pet. He was clever, observant, and patient. He was a human capable of understanding, learning, and planning. The aliens may have underestimated him, but that was about to change. The journey of survival was far from over. The aliens had begun to see the human in a new light, but they had no idea how dangerous intelligence could be. Liam's mind was alive, calculating, planning. Every moment, every word, every observation brought him closer to freedom. The stars moved outside the observation window, silent and unending. Liam watched them, imagining Earth, imagining freedom, imagining the day he would walk among humans again. Patience and knowledge were his allies, and he would use them both wisely. The human pet had learned their language. He had learned their ways. And soon the aliens would realize that they had not captured a pet. They had awakened a mind.